It appears playing warrior will no longer make me scream internally, since I can do so externally and in the game. Greetings illiterates! If I start theory crafting, we'll be here for hours, so I'll upload my incoherent ramblings separately to not hold hostage the good people who only want the news. Paragon is, to put it lightly, Warrior 2.0. You get Core Burst, level 1 only, and 3 Chants to choose from, all with initial effects and overtime passive, all requiring 1 bar of adrenaline to cast, all scaling their effects with new resource, Motivation. First Chant grants Might and Fury, both initially and over time. Second grants Barrier on initial cast and pulses Healing over time at high motivation, also pulsing Resistance. And third, on initial cast, breaks Stuns and gives Swiftness, Resolution and Stability, added respectively on low, medium and high motivation thresholds. It needs to be noted that only one Chant passive can be active at the time. Motivation is gained from minor traits for casting your chants, 4 per chant, and for casting your 4th and 5th weapon skill once per cast, of course. Using your weapon burst skill does not grant motivation. Warrior's commands also have initial effect and an echo, which is just an effect that happens after 3 seconds of delay or immediately after you use a burst skill, which includes your chants. Heal skill We Shall Return heals in AoE on initial pulse and then heals and cleanses as an echo. Find Their Weakness deals AoE damage and applies AoE vulnerability, and as echo gives you might with extra stack per every enemy hit. Never Surrender grants you resistance, resolution and breaks stun. Wording is vague on whether that stun is AoE or not. We know the initial boons are definitely self-only because Refrain shares the same boons as AoE. If you cast it whilst not CC'd, it will go on half the cooldown. Brace Yourselves grants Barrier both initially and as an echo. And finally, On Your Knees cripples and damages enemies around you as initial effect and applies weakness as its echo. Elite skill We Will Never Yield makes you refuse to go below 1 HP, and when that effect ends, grants Barrier, and as an echo shares that effect in AoE around you, at reduced duration. That's 5 seconds of self-immortality, 2 of which are shared with allies. This also seems to be stacking duration. And we worried about turbo bad elite stacking. Either way, let's move on to traits. As we mentioned, you get motivation for casting a chant or your offhand skill, but also you get damage reduction for each point of motivation you have, which, considering motivation is something that ticks down all the time, will not be something with extremely high upkeep. First in first column is a trait that activates the F2 chant for free whenever you enter combat, which might be decent for side noding and for word-v-word roaming, especially against classes that like to OOC and reset engagements often, or for open world and fractals, where you run from fight to a different fight quite frequently. Next, we have a trait that gives you healing power and concentration, which gets doubled while you have chants ticking in the background. Third trait in first column increases your move speed and reduces the effectiveness of movement impairments. Not duration like dodging March does. Effectiveness. Meaning you will be able, possibly with swiftness and aggressive onslaught, to completely ignore cripple as a thing and have a very funny limping animation. First in second column makes your chants reduce the cooldowns of other chants by a flat amount, which depending on cooldowns of chants and interactions between chants and burst traits might be very strong. Second in second column makes you heal and gain adrenaline for each point of motivation consumed, meaning if you have enough motivation upkeep, you'll regenerate adrenaline and health at pretty decent pace. Third in this column makes your command echoes activate twice, which could be extra strong with defensive commands such as the heal skill, the barrier wand, and especially the elite one. First trait in Grandmaster column grants alacrity in PvE and quickness in versus modes for activating any chant, making Alac and Quick Support Warrior possible in respectively PvE and versus modes. Second trait makes you overpowered as a solo player by making each refrain passive grant powerful effects. Offensive one grants increased damage and lifesteal. Here's 20% lifesteal. Blood Reckoning is 30%. Defensive chant grants reduced incoming damage, and Stunbreak 1 grants 50% increased movement speed. Third trait in Grandmaster column makes it so all your motivation costs above 1 are reduced by 1, and all your refrains are stronger, granting respectively more might, more healing, and longer duration of applied boons. In total, Paragon is decently well-rounded and seems to be strong, though I'm afraid some potential has been left to rust. There's no easy way to activate martial cadence in this general toolkit. The core burst has no interaction with motivation at all, as it doesn't even give motivation on hit, and it will be still necessary to activate traits, so it feels like a waste of adrenaline pre-installed into the spec, which is already very adrenaline hungry. But that's not really the fault of Paragon itself, more just Warrior in general has a trove of small lingering issues like this one. As promised, I will dive deeper into those in separate video, which will be available early for all supporters. Speaking of which, a big sign of gratitude to all generous supporters, continuously considering my dubious quality content worth their money. You're all truly welcome. Crabface out.